Good evening and welcome to our 13th round of the PPG IndyCar World Series 1987 edition. Coming to you tonight from the Quaker State 500 and the Pocono International Raceway. The final oval race of the year in the series, and with it being the Tricky Triangle, it's promising to be one hell of an event. With me in the booth tonight, I have Tim Hille, and later on, Ryan Walker will also be joining us. Good evening, Tim.
Good evening, Jonathan.
Looking forward to this?
Definitely as you said, the last oval race and also the last part of the 500-miler Triple Crown for USEC this year. Kart, and I'm looking forward to it, yeah.
So, as we mentioned, we are at the Tricky Triangle, so named because it very much makes up a triangle in the shape. The Pocono International Raceway, as mentioned, also called the Tricky Triangle, 2.5 mile triangular oval, 2.5 mile in length, making it 200 laps to complete the 500 miles. And back in the day, and even up until fairly recently, very tricky to drive and definitely a car breaker.
Well, just like every other 500-mile race we had this season so far.
True, but even looking at, say, early 2000 events, there were quite a few engine breakages along the way of these 500 miles around the Tricky Triangle, along with obviously other breakages as well, often suspension and other pieces.
Well, let's hope we'll have a nice race with many finishers.
Definitely so. Something to keep in mind is that because the turns are very different, turn 1 being akin to the kidney bean up in, I think it's located in New Jersey. Turn 2 being very much akin to Indianapolis, and the final turn being very much like Michigan, I think. I think Michigan. Obviously, no singular car setup will sort the car out for every single turn. So it'll be interesting to see which drivers are able to get the car to work the best over the whole track and over the whole race.
Yeah, and it's also sort of maybe like the holy trinity of oval corners. Like we got 3 of the best corners mixed in one track. Sounds like a good recipe, just like maybe some modern tracks who also got like the best bits smashed together into one circuit.
Quite so. I mean, another one that in many ways can be considered being that kind of track is Spa-Francorchamps, which many drivers seem to enjoy. And I seem to remember many at least drivers talking about really liking the Sepang circuit in Malaysia.
Sepang is great. And Austin also has a similar recipe, even though it's got its own characteristics.
I am not a fan of that track, but I can certainly see what you mean.
It's a fun track to drive with the correct car, let's put it like that.
Fair. I suppose I've never had a chance to drive it with the correct track in simulator racing. Right, while I make sure we get logged into the racetrack, let's have a quick little look-see at the points structure, where, as before, 20 points will be scored by the winner of the race, 16 for second, 14 for third, 12 for fourth, 10 for fifth, 8 for sixth, and then 6 point for seventh, dropping by 1 point down to 12th. Also 1 point being awarded for pole position and for the most laps led. And let's get the point standings up as well, as they stand after round 12. Where last time out we were racing at Nazareth. This will be quite the... No, sorry, it wasn't at all. We were at Road America last time. Still a very big difference in terms of what the track and car will be like. We see Vadim Tachak leading the championship on 149 points. We have David Yates in second on 138 points, 11 points adrift. Richard Coxon is still third, but I believe unfortunately not here tonight. 13 points adrift on 136. Anders Nilsson is fourth on 99 points, and with a very good finish in position in the last couple of races, Jon Tim has climbed up to fifth on 64 points.
Definitely a good standings for a championship battle. We got, even though Coxon isn't racing here tonight, we still got Tachak and Jakes, who could maybe get today a big swing in momentum, either into the way of Jakes or into the path of Tachak.
Indeed. And it'll be interesting to see, because I believe if Tachak, Yates and Coxon score very few to no points in the remaining races, I believe Anders and possibly even Jon, if he wins every single race that is left, has a very slim chance of managing to get the win in the championship. So it's still open, even in the case of many people having issues. Before we go to track, let's just have a very quick look at the situation for tires and fuel. Each driver will be having unlimited tires available for the event, that being qualifying, warm-up and race. And each car is limited to 277 US gallons, which equates to about 1048 liters. It is also mandatory to start the race with a full tank of fuel. Right, let's get out on track and see if we can catch up to anyone out on track at the moment for a lap or two. We see here the start-finish straight on this beautiful 2.5 mile oval. Let's see. Jon Tim is on the start-finish straight, so let's jump on board with him. So down the front straight behind his brother, down into turn 1. Look at that, how nervous Oscar's car looks in front. A little bit high, but nice bit of speed coming out of there. Now with Greg Della Cella in front of us here. As we go into the tunnel turn 2. Too many drivers, the most scary place on the track, because it's in the middle of 2 turns that you can sort of make the car behave at. Down into turn 3. And look out on the exit, because there is a bump right here. A bit too much throttle or a bit too bad of an attack angle, and you will be going off there. And I noticed Vadim Tachak was at least currently fastest in this warm-up session, still is. So right up there.
I think he also got a pole, so looks good for him so far.
Ooh, it does indeed, and Nilsson up there as well, challenging, as is Yakes and Wilkes. So, oh, and look at that, Mike Olsen up in the 4th. Mike has shown some very improved pace in the last couple of races. I truly hope he's able to finish this race. He's been doing a very good job so far. Oh, and that's an off in the final turn. Believe that might be Oscar Tim who went off. Nice to see on pace Jason White up inside the top 10. As is Bruno Chacon in this warm-up session, very nice to see. And Jason Fitch in the Bettenhausen car. Oscar Tim up in 6th, and then we have Wilkes, Olsen, Yates, Nilsson and Tatchak. See, who else do we have? We have Simon Wattman racing tonight in the number 31. Oh dear, I notice I've made a tiny mistake. We will be right back to the track in just a few moments. Because those graphics looked a little bit low. So while I get us back to track, any predictions on who will do well here tonight?
Well, Adam Heckman has shown himself this year as sort of the 500-mile master. So he could be a reasonably short, I feel like. And if not him, the obvious candidates, Tatchak or Jakes. But these two are probably the most boring ones, so I'm sticking with Heckman.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd agree that Hackman has definitely proven to be able to do very well in these oval races, especially the long distance ones. And
Hi guys, my apologies for being late. I completely forgot that these races started early now because of the clocks going backwards last weekend, so my bad.
Not a problem. Hi there, Ryan.
How are you? How are you guys?
Decent, a little bit of coughing now and then, but otherwise I'm good.
I'm good at work as well.
Good to hear. Yeah, talking about predictions, I think I've just got a feeling that the Flying Canadian could win tonight. Mr. David Jakes, especially, I think he might be determined to try and take a win tonight and try and maybe take over the championship lead with two rounds remaining with tonight, and then we've got one round remaining after tonight, I believe.
And it is this one, and I believe
This is 13 of 15, so yep. We got 2 more after this.
Oh, 2 more. So yeah, I think David Jakes just might be determined to take a win tonight and take that championship fight down to the very last round. But Nadim Tesiak, one of those drivers that you can never underestimate, and yeah, he's been really, well, for me, he's been one of the drivers of the season so far.
Definitely so. And we can see also Greg Della Cella actually in one of the Penske machines, the number 8 Pennzoil sponsored Yellow Devil. Hopefully he will have a good race in that car. It's a bit of a step up from what he's been handed earlier in the season. Daniel May racing as well, number 21. See if we have anyone else who hasn't done any races in a bit. We can see here Schlapinski in trouble with a puncture on the right rear in the number 33 Skull Bandit Mean Green machine. And unfortunately even further troubles there. And Juha Boos likewise looked to have gone off into the pits there. Jason Fitch, of course, in the Bettenhausen Motorsports number 16. Owen Michaelson in trouble in the Quaker machine, number 18. After an off in what looked to have been turn 2, maybe. As Richard Wilkes has gone to the fastest lap of this warm-up session shortly before the race starts. So 500 grueling miles around a racetrack that in real life was extremely bumpy in 87, and where unfortunately the car that was on pole in the real race unfortunately isn't here, which would have been in the hands of Ray Riddall, but unfortunately he can't be here. And I believe Michael Andretti had a decent early part of the race as well in the Quaker racing machine.
Well, Mike Olsen, as his virtual replacement, seems to be having a good weekend, so car number 18 seems to be running hot around here.
For sure.
Yeah, another thing with this race tonight being 500 miles is some of these drivers are going to have to be very careful of how they use the boost, because as you've seen so far this or during the season, yeah, people have had the engines blow up and them out unexpectedly. So, but something for these drivers to think about.
Indeed, and another thing to sort of keep in mind is something I was told earlier in the week, where the drivers may very well be changing the changing the anti-roll bar during the race, as in between the turns. Effectively trying to weight jack the car.
Let's hope that the drivers who do it get it right and don't get it wrong and find themselves with a bit more anger than they used to have in the corner and find themselves in the wall a few seconds after that.
Indeed. And I'm happy to see that we have BL with us yet again watching, and Ian as well. And good evening to everyone else who's watching. I hope you'll enjoy the race as much as I hope we three will enjoy bringing it to you. As we now can see everyone out on track here, so it looks like everyone is getting set and ready. So on pole, as you mentioned, will be Vadim Tacek. Second on the grid will be David Yates in the Domino's number 30 for Doug Shearson Racing. Mike Olsen lines up third for Quaker Racing, a big improvement on qualifying pace from previous events. Adam Hackman in the AJ Foyt car in fourth. Anders Nilsson fifth on the grid in the Vince Granatelli Racing car, and Richard Wilkes sixth for Hemmelgarn. Jan Tim lines up seventh for Machinists Union, with Juha Bors eighth for Reiner. Jason Fitch lines up ninth in the Bettenhausen Motorsports entry, and Jason White rounds out top 10 in the Patrick Racing car. Oscar Tim lines up 11th for Machinists Union, with Mikael Drexler 12th for Gallus Racing. Mateus da Silva 13th for Penske, with Jules Bouchard 14th in the second of the Penske cars. Filippo Marazzi lines up 15th for Gore, with Bruno Chacon lining up 16th for Dick Simon Racing. David Saber in the second Patrick car in 17th, with Daniel May lining up 18th. Greg Dalacella will line up 19th, Luciano Roja 20th, Francisco Amaral in 21st, Cesar Shlapinski in 22nd, and Simon Wattman in the Los Angeles Drywall March 85 lines up 23rd and last, ahead of this 500-mile race. And considering how tricky this track is, I reckon everyone is quite nervous at this moment in time.
Yeah, this is pretty much the stage or the part of the race where people were maybe feeling a little bit anxious or a bit tense, just because you don't know what to expect, especially with racing on an oval. But I think once they get going and get the first 3 or 4 laps out of the way, I think the drivers are settled down as they were underway.
Oh, and there were barely any movement from the Quaker Racing entry. Looks like to be on the standstill. Tachak remains in the lead with Fitch up into second. Great start for Jason Fitch. Up from 9th. And then look at that, David Yates running around outside and retaking second place. Looks like that is... couldn't quite see who that was in third. That was Oscar Tim. And looks like everyone has been able to get going. So Tachak, Yakes first, second, Oscar Tim third, Fitch, and the rest of the field. Ooh, Slapinski with a late move to the inside, coming onto the start-finish straight. But everyone good so far. Let's get back to that. Bouchard up into 4th place, Fitch in 5th now. And Hackman in 7th, Tim in 6th. And then we have a bit of a battle between Saber and that looks like Marazzi. So Marazzi with a good start for Gore Racing. Saber retaking 8th though. You don't want to go side by side through the tunnel turn. Oh, and that is Mateus da Silva, I think, with a good start as well up into 10th. Oh, and look at that, trying around outside through turn 3. Oh, and he does it!
Yeah, that's a bit of a bit risky to do on lap coming to the end of lap 2 or onto lap 3 now. So, but that's very risky. But the person that's made a good start, I noticed coming back through the field after a slow
start. Oh no,
Mateus
da Silva off! Wide in turn 1 and coming down the track! Oh! That was so close to another car, holy moly! And unfortunately, Silva spins on the infield. Hopefully he will be able to get that car back to the pits. That was very unfortunate for him. Let's see if we can bring that back very quickly. Sorry to cut you off there. Coming through into turn 1, a bit too quick, bit too high. Tries to pinch the car down. The car gets loose on him and up into the outside wall he goes. And so close to swiping. I think that was Filippo Marazzi and the Gore car.
Yeah, I was just going to say the person had a slow start on lap 1, but got back through the field really quickly. Someone's in the wall, I think.
Oh, I think that's Fitch.
Is that? Yeah, I was about to say, is that Fitch?
So unfortunately, Fitch in the number 16 Bettenhausen entry, running it up along the wall. Oh no! Oh dear! Oh dear! Keep it up there. Ooh, I think that was a lose just because of going a bit too quick. And now he can go back to the bottom of the track. Nicely done. Bit of a spin there, but nicely done, Jason. Kept it away from everyone else. Oh no, and that looks like Simon Wattman up in the wall and maybe with a bit of damage to the car. Looked a little bit nervous. But now looks okay. So Olsen down in 19th at the moment, Angel Main 18th, Chacon 17th, Drexler 16th in the Gallus Racing Honda Power entry. Jason White in 15th, Marazzi dropping speed here down to 15th, maybe with a moment. So White up to 14th, Amaral 13th, Wilkes in 12th, so Wilkes has had a slow start. Joha Bors in 11th. And Rocha in 10th, and that's, I believe, Fitch still trying to get the car back to the pits. And Oscar Tim up into 2nd and with the fastest lap of the race so far. Wow. So Oscar going hell for leather here.
He had a great start. He went from 11th to 2nd place within 6 steps. Quite an achievement. Same for Cesarius, who went from 22nd to soon to be 6th maybe, but 7th at the moment.
That's quite impressive indeed. Oh, and he had a bit of a moment coming through tunnel turn, but able to keep it off the wall. Looks like the Machinists Union boys has done their setup work. They look quite homely here, both inside the top 5.
Yeah, the two team brothers, John team and Oscar team, do or Oscar and John rather, are doing a good job inside the top five at the moment, second and fifth at the moment, and I think something just about happened there.
Oh, that was Jason putting a move on Amaral through turn 1, and White just drifted a little bit up the track and made a little bit of tiny contact with Amaral coming towards the exit. Amaral retakes 12th position from White through the tunnel turn, and White with a moment into the wall. Wilkes now passed, as is Marazzi. Looks like Jason might have a bit of damage to the car. Oh, that looks like a puncture, unfortunately. That's a spin and into the outside barrier as well. Dear me, that's unfortunate. Very unfortunate indeed, and Jason immediately decides to park it, unfortunately.
I'm very surprised that some of these drivers are pushing really early. I thought they would have wanted to settle down and maybe just settle into a rubber. As it looks like Jules Bouchard is under attack from John Team now. John Team getting a slipstream, but just not close enough to make a move.
Let's jump on board with the Machinists Union driver, looking ahead at Jules Bouchard, going through turn 3. As Oscar Tim does another fastest lap, a 46.779. Oh wow, and it seems like, if I heard that right, it seems John Tim is changing gears.
Yeah, it's quite common for drivers that are more modern Indy cars.
Wow.
The slipstream that drivers seem to change gear because it will hit the limiter otherwise. But as I say that, John Team goes for the move and picks up the fourth place from
Ooh. Round outside, tries to hold on is Bouchard, but I think that is... No, he's trying again. Oh, that is brave around outside there. Oh, Jon trying to take the position, but Bouchard holding on still side by side, coming out of turn 3. And now Jon finally takes the position secured. That was a good little battle there. But Jon Tim takes 4th.
They are already battling like it's the last lap of the race and it's for position.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see that they are that brave this early. Fitch unfortunately still in the pits, and Matheus da Silva has decided to retire the car, unfortunately. So 2 retirees so far in this race. And David Yates now with the fastest lap, 46.759, so another 0.02 of a second faster than previous fastest lap. Bruno Chacon chasing Marazzi. And looks like Chacon has a run. Let's see if we can make anything of it here. Looks like he is happy to sit behind and save fuel at the moment. No, he actually looks down inside, but I think that's more of a let's get some clean air on the wings.
Yeah, sometimes if you stay behind another car on the same line into a corner on an oval, you get that dirty air effect, and sometimes it causes you to get a bit of understeer or causes the car to push. But I do that, so I've done that in the past. I normally try and move out of the slipstream just to try and get some clear air. As I look at Anders Nielsen at the moment in 7th place. Nielsen currently 4th in the championship, and I think he probably would have wanted to be in the top 3, but still having a good run at the moment in the early stages of this race, and maybe just playing the long game and just letting the race come to him and see how it pans out.
Indeed.
He's an old Fox by now. He knows how the system works, and he knows that you have to be there at the end, not in the first 12 laps.
Indeed, and we are now on board with Jules Bouchard, being chased by Schlapinski and Nilsson, and obviously trying to get to grips with Jon Tim ahead of him, but looks like Jules for now is set to be in 5th for a couple of laps longer, and then we'll see. Actually, looks like he might be going for a move. No, doesn't look like it. Oh, and a slew of fastest laps. Richard Wilkes now in 11th with a fastest lap. So he's gained a position in the last lap and a half. Well, look at that, Ślepinski all crossed up through the tunnel turn, but what a run he has coming out of it. Not quite able to do it. Oscar Tim now into the lead with a fastest lap of 46.4. Ooh, and all of these guys very wide on the exit. Nilsson actually scraping the wall a little bit with the right rear. And the battle is definitely on as we see Ślepinski going for the inside here, down into turn 1. Bouchard again holding on around outside. And now Nilsson maybe with a run. He has a run up the inside going towards the tunnel turn. And he is passed. Good slingshot onto the straight as Ślepinski was not able to make the move. And Nilsson gains a position.
Yeah, that was good. It was good. Yeah, it was good opportunistic driving by Nilsson. He saw the opportunity and saw that Ślepinski got slowed up a little bit and took the opportunity and picked up a position. As it looks like Mike Olsen's another retirement.
Indeed, looks like that might be engine related. Yeah, that sounds like an engine. Missed a gear, and I think that just a few 100 meters later meant the engine gave up, unfortunately. Maybe, difficult to say. Might have actually been him deciding to park it, but I think that was an engine failure. As we can see, some lacked traffic in all of this. Nilsson now past Bouchard, and Ślepinski trying to make a move as well. And Oscar still in the lead, 2 seconds to gap now.
Yeah, so a good start to the race for Oscar as well. He's just been making progress through the field and up into the lead at the moment. So a good run from him so far. But I think Vadim and also David Jakes might just be playing the long game, like I mentioned before, and just letting the race come to them and seeing how the race pans out. It looks like Ślepinski's about to make a move on Nilsson. Is it Nilsson heading into turn 1?
On Bouchard, that is. Nilsson just set a fastest lap.
Apologies.
Ooh, Ślepinski all crossed up coming through turn 1. Ooh, just about holds it off the wall. Wow. That was a wild ride. Let's have a ride on board with that and see how it looks like when you're all hands on deck trying to keep the car off the wall.
I tell you what, Finn, that's probably woken up here Ślepinski. That might have
Ooh.
maybe a change of underpants after that.
Now that definitely looked scary. Looks like there's another battle brewing here between Rocha and Juha Boos, who are about a second and a half behind Bouchard. So Bouchard with a good start, but slowly looking like he's going to fall back in the field. Boos with a bit of a moment through the tunnel turn, able to keep it off the wall and keep on going, but Bouchard now being caught by Rocha. And it looks like Amaral and Hackman might be having a bit of a scrap as well, as might be Sabre and Wilkes. Oh there, that looks like number 8 car in a tiny bit of strife there, as Boos now slingshots past Rocha in the draft. But Rocha getting back on the exit of turn 1. We've seen that several times already this race. That's a good slingshot there, but Boos diving up the inside of Rocha into tunnel turn. Shades of recent years. That is dangerous to do, but both of them able to survive that. Ooh, Rocha all wide and Boos up the inside. So Rocha slightly missing the turning point there. I see Wilkes is past Saber, so Wilkes up into the top 10 now. And Hackman looks to be going past Amaral at the moment. And another battle still going on is between Marazzi and Chacon, with Chacon currently ahead. And the camera assistant has arrived.
Let me guess, it's the seat. Yeah, I was going to say your cat.
Yep, that is indeed the case. So there is a bonus to doing simulator racing. You can have your cat in your lap while broadcasting. That's a difficulty to do in IRL situations, I'd say. Right, back to some of the action. Let's see. Looks like Wilkes has dropped Saber and is catching up to Bouchard. And Bouchard has lost out to Rocha and Bos, so Bouchard must have made a mistake somewhere because Rapinski has passed as well. And looks like Nilsson now challenging Jon Tim.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on that battle between the two Swedish drivers. Anders has slowly been closing down John Team, and he's been getting close, but he's not been doing any. He's not been eager to make a move. Oh, as I say that, Anders Nielsen around outside.
Wow!
What the?
Well, that's a way. That's one way to do it, I suppose. Oh, they're still side by side going through the tunnel turn, though. Ooh, Jon effectively chickens out, bravely so, I'd say. Side by side, no matter how you do it, there is something you really need to think 3 and 4 times about before doing.
That was a. Yeah, that was as us British people would say, a very, very brave.
Anders definitely has a lot of confidence in his car, judging by his driving style.
Could it be now that we are 24 laps in, quite a bit of fuel has been burned? So could it be that his car is very happy on a lower amount of fuel than on a full tank of fuel? That he's set it up that way?
Or maybe he just turned the boost up a little bit because he has saved more fuel on the first few laps than he expected to. Sort of the reverse Bouchard, I would call it, because in the first few laps he was in the top 5 and now he's going backwards lap by lap, overtake by overtake.
Could definitely be the case. Will be interesting
Wilkes
to see.
is passing Bouchard and Wilkes now into P9.
Ooh!
That could have ended up being a big accident.
That was a that very much looked like for Bouchard. Oh shit! Kind of situation. That dives up the inside through the tunnel turn, now wide, and Wilkes retakes the position. Did he strike the wall then?
Yeah, I was going to say that was a bit of a switchback from Wilkes there. That was a. Yeah, I'm amazed that that never ended up being a big accident between both Wilkes and Bouchard. That was very. I have no idea how, but that was very just lucky.
I think that one in the tunnel turn was probably Wilkes going, okay, I can let you do that. The first one through turn 1, that was more, I'd say, shit, and a bit of luck, to say the least.
Safe to say both Bouchard and Cesarius need a new new set of underpants at the next pit stop.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed from quite a few drivers as well that they, especially Anders Nielsen, that movie done on John Team. I noticed some other drivers as well have been using the high line. I've noticed that in IndyCar racing quite a lot, in real life oval racing, that some drivers will use the high line just sometimes sometimes there's more grip up there, so it gives you a better chance of getting a run.
Well, it's certainly something you can do. It's just a bit more dangerous because you need to pinch the turn when you get to the end of it, and occasionally that'll come to bite you in the butt instead, and you end up having the car
Watchman has spun
snapping.
on the track. He is literally on the track, parked. Get it moving again.
Oh dear, and I think he was involved with Jason Fitch, because Fitch is without a rear wing. Let's see. Oh, looks like it might have been. No, it looks like it could have been. Let's see. Let's jump on board with Wattman here and see what he sees. I think 2 cars up ahead is Jason Fitch. No, it's the car ahead, and oh dear. Okay. So that was effectively. I think Fitch lost it in front of him, and then Simon Wattman effectively ended up in the wall and spinning sort of in sympathy. In a sort of good thing, he at least knew, let's just stand still, they'll go for the side that is free. So that was nice rejoin there by Simon. But unfortunately that's a retirement for him because of presumable suspension damage then. And Amaral and Hackman still fighting. Now Amaral going up the inside. And towards the end though, Hackman is a little bit faster down the straight, and Hackman round outside through the tunnel turn, and now where the whole heap of dirty air, Amaral almost up into the wall, but able to avoid it. Bouchard is still inside the top 10, and the first, I think, scheduled stop for Luciano Rocha on lap 30. And you have both likewise, so pit stops starting now. I think generally if you want to be on the money, if I remember correctly, it's 31 to 33 laps you need to do. And here comes
splitting as well.
Yep, here comes Oscar at the start of lap 31, end of lap 30 for him. Ooh, did he make it to the pit stall? No, he didn't. He overshot. So he has to reverse a little bit to get into position. So that's a tiny bit of time lost. And it looks like Jon is in behind as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that's about maybe 2 or 3 seconds that Oscar's lost there. Or even more.
Indeed, let's see what Tatjak and Jakes does then. Tatjak retakes the lead with Oscar heading into the pits. Looks like Tatjak now coming into the pits, so 31 laps completed for him. And Bouchard in the pits there as well. Oh dear, that looks like a dangerous place for Vadim to be. Because that looks very tight with a safety car. Looks like he is getting prepared to reverse here.
He is already in reverse.
Oh dear. So he likewise loses about 3 seconds with that, I reckon. Rejoins in second. Well, look at that. A full 17 seconds behind is Oscar, and Jon 23. Is that a quick a no tire stop or only a 2 tire stop for Tatchak? Because that seems very quick indeed.
I think we have already seen the same thing at the last 500-mile race, where the team brothers were always longer at the pit stops than the other cars around it at the lead. So they might be playing it safe with the tires, not always changing on all 4 of them.
Oh, Jon Tim is actually out.
Oh,
Oh dear, that looks like a big accident. Both front wheels off.
yeah, I just heard I heard
Oh
the crunch
no!
Oh,
Surely not. Coming down the front straight, someone else lost it in front of him, I think.
Yeah, it just looks like he came round and he just had nowhere to
Oh, someone with a what looks like an either lost it or had an engine breakage and never left the track, and unfortunately Jon straight into him. Ow, that's unfortunate.
go. Oh, I wonder if that car was sideways on the straight. I wonder if that was Angel May, because I just spotted that. See, he's retired from the race as well.
Oh dear, it could have been. Let's go back to her car and see if that could have been the case. Looks like it was indeed Daniel May. So whatever happened to her then? I see a bit high and wide through the final turn. Car gets a little bit loose on the bump. She ends up in outside wall, and I think she got a puncture from that. And tried to keep it high and slow, but puncture on both right side tires, and the car, as she slowed down, span into the track, and unfortunately nowhere to go. Just as Jon Tim hits the car, she escaped, so really unfortunate timing that. So Daniel May unfortunately out, as is Jon Tim. That's very unfortunate, as Michael Drexler coming out of the pits in 15th. Chacon 14th now, Marazzi then 13th, Amaral 12th, Hackman in 11th, David Saber back up into the top 10 with that. Jos Bukhari 9th, Rocha 8th, Shlapinski 7th, Wilkes in 6th, Juha Boos is in 5th, Oscar Tim in 4th, 12 seconds behind Tatchak now. Yakes in 3rd, Anders Nilsson, great pit stop here, up to 2nd, 4.5 seconds adrift from Tatchak. So it'll be interesting to see if it's another sprint for Oscar here to get back up towards the front or not.
Yeah, I think Oscar overshooting his box probably cost him some time, and that's why he's down. Probably he's quite far behind in 4th place at the moment. But apart from that, it's been a good race for him so far. He got to the front earlier on in the race, but I think he just overshooting his box cost him slightly. But still, we're only on lap 30, lap 35, well 36, sorry. So I think still plenty of time to crawl back and gain that time.
Definitely so. You have Boos up in the 5th indeed, and Wilkes 6th. So you have with a somewhat quiet race for Reiner so far, but inside the top 5 now, so nicely done. Bit far behind, but as you say, still a long race to go. We're not even a quarter of the distance yet. I noticed Sabre and Bouchard are quite close, only a second or so between them, so while we wait for the front of the field to close up, let's follow these two for a little bit. See if Sabre can overhaul the Canadian. I suppose, actually, with a bit of a lull in the action, why don't we bring up one of the trivia questions for tonight? With the first pit stop done, and then we can look at the answer during the second stop. So, first trivia question for the evening is: who holds the official IndyCar race lap record for Pocono's triangular oval? That being this one. Is it A, Ryan Briscoe, B, Scott Dixon, or is it C, Elio Castro-Neves?
I'm gonna go with C.
Elio, alright. Any immediate answer for you, Ryan, or do you want to give it a bit of a think?
So I think I know this answer, but give me some time to think, because it's I've watched the race on TV before, but I can't remember I can't remember who holds the lap record. It's been that long since I've watched the race.
Righto, no problem. And it looks like nope. Okay, that's a car a lap down. No, a lap ahead. Sorry, that's Hutchak in the lead. So misidentifying cars here. Saber now with the leader in behind and still trying to get to grips with Bouchard ahead. It looks like Hutchak now going up the inside to put Saber a lap down. So now starting to lap the top 10 position cars in this race.
And there seems to be the faster car at the moment. He closed the gap down, or is slowly closing the gap down to Vadim. A few laps ago it was 3.5 seconds, now it's 2.5 seconds. In a few laps probably 2 seconds, and then we get a nice battle. Hopefully.
Well, it'll certainly be interesting to watch. It's now a question of who can deal with the traffic the best. And it's sort of amazing that despite it being 2.5 miles a lap here, there's a line of traffic for the leaders to deal with. Which I suppose in a way is positive, because that means a lot of drivers are very equally matched in these machines. As Saber now way widely letting the second place car of Anders Nilsson past. Oh dear, and that looked like Drexler and Saber in a bit of a situation there. Now I believe that's Greg Delacella moving out of the way, the remaining yellow Penske in the race. And that is Bouchard now ahead of Nilsson. Roughly 3.3 seconds between the lead and the second place car now. Looks like Oscar Tim is closing in on Yates as well.
Yeah, I just spotted that as well. I wonder if Oscar's turned the boost up slightly to try and close that gap down to Jake's, and yeah, Jake, Oscar just getting held up slightly by traffic, but yeah, you can see on the home straight now the gap between David Jakes and the Oscar team is definitely coming down lap by lap.
Vadim is currently the only car that is consistently lapping in the very, very low 47s, while the other drivers in the top 4 are usually, excluding the bad traffic, in the mid to high 46s. So either Vadim is already preparing himself for the long game, saving some fuel, saving possibly even some engine, or he is maybe not the fastest car today.
Well, he proved with the pole position that he is at least shouldn't be a slouch around here. But that's an interesting aspect to keep in mind, I suppose. And the reason at the start of the broadcast I mentioned the pole car wasn't here is because of the interesting fact in a way that the Newman Haas car in the hands of Mario Andretti took pole for each of the 500-mile races in the 87 year. I believe they said on the broadcast, and had breakages in each one of them. I believe a valve spring and an oil leak before the Pocono one, and then the rough and tumble of the track effectively just made the engine go badunk. Roughly halfway into that race.
That is definitely unfortunate, to put it mild.
Yeah, it reminds me of the similar fate that Michael Andretti used to have at Indianapolis every year. I think it was 1992 when he was leading the Indy 500, and until I think it was 10 laps to go, or 10 or 20 laps to go, I believe, and basically his engine gave up.
Indeed. And I think Michael is one of those drivers that often were in or thereabout at Indianapolis one way or another, but always had trouble before him.
He was also leading the 1991 Indianapolis 500. 1991 it was when him and Rick Mears had that fantastic battle, and then all of a sudden, Rick Mears found some pace out of nowhere and just overtook Michael Andretti on the outside into turn one, and just pulled away from him and went on to win. That was, for me, it's still one of the best races I've watched.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that the year as well when was it Guerrero who took pole but span off on a parade warm-up lap?
I believe that was 1992.
That was 92 one, right?
Yeah, I think he tried to warm his tire. It didn't help on that day that basically that it wasn't really hot. It was I believe it was it was cold, and they basically, so the tires weren't warmed up that much, and I think as soon as Guerrero went to spin up and try and win, or try and warm the tires up and the brakes up as well, he just spun round just because of I think it was just basically there was no grip, and they just got caught out. Because I think it looks like Tesiak's Tesiak's coming through the field and lapping traffic as well, so got a bit of a commanding lead. Oh, I was going to say commanding lead. It's about 1.3 seconds, so it's not comfortable. But
Anders splits the lappies going in the middle bit of them and gains quite a bit of time on touch check with that couple of cars. As you say, down to about 1.5 seconds now.
Anders threading the needle through the left cars, pushing for the first place.
Although saying that, now that the lapped cars are away, looks like Tatchak gained about half a second, so looks like both of them for the moment is happy to be cruising around, looking after the car. But someone who ain't cruising and closing in, now just a second between them, is Oscar Tim closing up to Yakes for third place.
Anders was 7/10 faster last time around.
Wow. So down to below a second now.
Pushing to be the first car to do the second pit stop.
Could be the case. Right, I'm back up to 1.5 seconds, so back and forth, but half a second between Yakes and Tim. Let's jump on board, looking back from over Yakes' rear wing. And the Domino's pits ahead as, Oscar Tim hard into the outside wall. Looks like damage, he has a puncture, unfortunately, so that's his charge over. Oh, and he spins and into the outside very hard, loses a front wheel. Aye, that's so unfortunate. That's probably a retirement for him then. With the front. Oh no, and he's taken. Someone else has run into him as well. Oh no, that's Saber. So it's a case of for Saber, nowhere to go. Difficult turn to begin with, and no way to avoid Oscar Tim's car, unfortunately. Aye, dearie me. Aye.
Hard break for the Tim family.
Quite, and for the Patrick Racing team, both cars out and yellow flag out. Cars heading for the pits now. Oh, and Yakes with a spin coming into his pit stall. He misses it completely. Wow. Whatever happened here? Wow, losing so much time. It's so fortunate that it's under yellow flag. Wow. Let's see what happened here. However did he end up in that kind of situation? Looks like just too much rear brake bias. Oh, I reckon he locked the rears as he changed down the gear. Wow, so a lot of time lost, but rejoining in fourth. Maybe make that fifth. We'll have to wait and see. Looks like it'll be fifth. Sorry, fourth. Yep. Ja, förlåt gumman. Du vet, det är jobbigt att sitta med låret sådär hela tiden. Ja, det är det. Ja, förlåt gumman. One of those situations where you sit in half sewer, like someone who sews thread and stuff, and start to get a cramp. Lucy didn't like having me moving around. So, with the yellow out, Tachak remains in the lead. Even with the pit stop he has done. Cesar Slapinski up into second. I don't know whether he pitted or not. Nilsson in third. Yakes in fourth. Juha Bos in fifth. Richard Wilkes in sixth. Oh, and it looks like he might be behind the safety car. He is, so he is stuck effectively a lap down in sixth. Rocha likewise in seventh. Bouchard in eighth. Amal in 9th, Chacon in 10th, Drexler 11th, Hackman in 12th. Hackman actually moving up a little bit to 11th now, but that's so unfortunate for a few of these guys with the yellow falling when it did. Marazzi in 15th, will be 13th in a little bit. Delacello will be 14th in a little bit. Jason Fitch in quite a few laps ought to be up into 15th. But right, back to green flag we go. And Tachak restarts the race. Slapinski in second, Nilsson third, Bos up to fourth, Yakes down to fifth. Wilkes trying to scamper away and open up a gap to the leader. He surely do not want to end up a lap down.
Cesarius didn't pit under the yellow, probably because he had the same problem, would have had the same problem like Wilkes, being a lap down. So we decided to keep it out on track and don't beat a lap down.
Rocha trying to unlap himself. Oh no! Bosen can't quite see who that is in contact. Oh no! So Bos hard in the wall and Nilsson likewise. Both of them will be retiring from this race. Aye, aye, aye.
Another full course yellow again?
I would think so. Aye. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That is one of those, I think, where they both looked for the same part of the track and unfortunately contact was made. And as you say, another yellow flag is out. So one of the fastest drivers in the race today, by the looks of things, retiring. And one of those in the form of Juha, who had a chance at a very decent finish here tonight.
Well, Richard Wilkes now in fourth, keeping up the comeback, or continuing the comeback rather.
I mean, for him that's a godsend. He gets back behind the safety car on the leading train, so to speak. That's very unfortunate indeed. Right, with the second yellow coming out, let's actually pick up on the trivia question and the answer to that. So, to remind you very quickly of the question is, who holds the official IndyCar race lap record for Pocono's triangular oval? That being this one. Is it A, Ryan Briscoe, B, Scott Dixon, or C, Elio Castro-Neves?
I'm sticking with Castro-Neves. I trust into our Brazilian oval guy.
Alrighty.
I'm going to say I thought about it long and hard, but I'm going to say Scott Dixon, just because he's an IndyCar master.
Alrighty. And I believe BL guessed B as well earlier. Brett is saying C. Blue Moon is saying A for Ryan Briscoe. And the correct the answer is A for Ryan Briscoe at a 40.9009 set in 2014. Which I believe was one of the years he was racing with the Penske organization?
Yeah, it was either Penske or Chip Ganassi Racing, I believe. But I'll quickly check that. But I believe it.
I believe that would have been one of the years he raced for Penske.
I've just checked one of my season reviews that I was watching. And 2014, it was Chip Ganassi that he was
Chip
racing for.
Ganassi, right?
But he has raced for Penske before, back in 2009, I think it was.
Okay, I was only 5 years off. I can live with that.
Actually, 2008 and 2009, so I was close enough.
Quite.
Congrats to Blue Moon for guessing that one correct.
Indeed. Congratulations on that, and we will get back to the second trivia question later in this race. For now, we have another restart. And Tatchak leads us away. Looks like Fitch wants to unlap himself there. Trying to go up around outside of Bouchard and Rocha, and is able to do so. Wilkes now in second even. Wow. So I wonder if he had a really good restart. Yates in third, Cesaro Shlapinski in fourth. Bouchard in fifth and Rocha in sixth, a lap down. Amaral seventh, Chacon eighth. Drexler ninth, Hackman 10th. Marazzi next up, and then Della Cella and Fitch rounding out the running cars at the moment. So let's see what Wilkes can do now, back on the leading train, and 2.5 seconds adrift from our leader in the form of Tatchak. And look at that, Bouchard and Rocha fighting.
Yeah, the person is benefiting from all of this is he's further down in the top 10, 9th or 10th at one point. The person is benefiting, or made a move through the field really well, is Richard Wilkes up there in second.
For sure, keeping it clean, keeping it consistent, and with a bit of a scampering start during the last restart. Anything can happen. And that being said, looks like on a full tank that Tatchak is very quick indeed. Now Wilkes trying to put the cars ahead of him a lap behind, but not able to do so. Losing time in behind Bouchard and Rocha, and here comes Yates up behind as well.
Yes, it's really close up at the front at the moment between pretty much the top three. Actually, I say that top three, top four as it stands, and Wilkes at the moment under pressure from the Canadian David Jakes, and I think David Jakes he's not been too eager to make any moves or trade. He's not been overly aggressive. He's just been letting the race pan out, and right behind Richard Wilkes. And I think if he gets run down the home straight, I think he'll take that opportunity and pounce.
Wilkes taking a wide berth down to the bottom of the track to put Bouchard a lap down, and now Bouchard running way high through turn 1. I don't know if he struck the wall or not, but that looked very dangerous indeed for him. And now side by side with Yates, who's trying to put him a lap down. Looks like Bouchard now backs off. But 5 seconds behind Tatchak is Wilkes now, so that lost Wilkes quite a bit of time trying to work his way around Bouchard and still Rocha to put a lap behind, but should happen sooner rather than later, I reckon. Oh, with a run coming around outside of Fitch. Okay, that worked. Nicely done. That looked a little bit dangerous. And now trying to look up the inside of Rocha into turn 1 as well. Not able to make it happen though. And Yates up behind and all crossed up. Wilkes likewise. Almost a bit of contact there. Ooh, Wilkes really forcing the issue of keeping Yates behind. Wow. And here comes Fitch around outside, unlapping himself. Oh no, and Fitch, I think, struck the wall coming out of Tunnel turn, that might be further issues for him. Looks like a spin indeed, up in the wall there. Dear me, that's unfortunate for Jason, doing his best to try and get the car to the finish. Coming through tunnel turn, the car gets a little bit sideways, then full on understeer out into the wall, and then a puncture of course, and as soon as the turn begins, that's a spin and into the barriers on the outside. And unfortunately Jason has decided to park the car. So Jason will be classified in 17th place. So final car running now is Greg De La Cella in 12th, so that means Greg is secured in getting 1 point tonight, no matter what happens from here on out.
Looked like Jason was maybe a little bit super motivated after overtaking both Wilkes and Jakes in their fight. And he just got in a little bit too hot. And that's the end.
Could be the case, difficult to tell for sure. Notice as well, Bruno Chacon, always the consistent, always getting the car to the finish, in 7th at the moment, so very nice run for him so far. And Bouchard with Drexler underneath him there. And here comes Slapinski as well to put Bouchard a lap behind himself. There he goes. Rocha in 5th and pulling a bit of a gap on Bouchard now. Slapinski 4th, lead lap, 3 seconds behind Yakes in 3rd, who's a further 2 seconds behind Wilkes, who's a further 5 seconds behind the leader.
Interesting to note that Wilkes is the only car or driver to keep it in 5th for the whole lap, while Vadim, David and Cesarios are shifting down to 4th for some corners. And let's see if that makes a difference in engine reliability or a difference in if the engine can survive this race at the end.
That is definitely interesting. Looks like Wilkes is able to pick up the pace a little bit now. Gained about a second this lap. Running about half a second below his slower than his optimal pace. 44.29 as his fastest lap. I believe that was a 42.76 for Richard that time around. See, touch track at the 46.4 that time around, 46.5 for Wilkes, 46.6 for Yakes, 47.3 for Slapinski. So Slapinski clearly working with older tires, presumably at least. Russia still with a decent gap now to Bruno Chacon, so Bouchard has lost out to Chacon. So Bruno up into 6th now.
It's been a great run from Bruno. I think this is his best run of the season so far, I believe, in the series. But yeah, Bouchard, yeah, it seems to be kind of going up and down. Sometimes you'll get back up close to the front, and then other times you'll end up falling back. So I don't know if if he's maybe struggling with tires, or if he's sticking to a fuel number and just running a different strategy.
I believe Buchard, at least on the short tracks, has struggled with understeer, having the front right overheat. So I don't know if this might be, as you say, tire related as well. It seems the most likely, considering the fact he's had trouble with the tires before, and now he has Amaral for close company as well. Oh, look at that, Amaral really struggling. Yeah, that's not the first time I've seen him very high coming through the tunnel turn when he's behind another car. One really aggressive, looking for a way to get past up the inside. When even before the turn is starting, he is past. Oh, Bouchard looking down underneath him though. But I think Amaral indeed has the position secured. So Amaral up to 7th, Bouchard down to 8th.
The Brazilians occupying P5 to P7 at the moment.
A very impressive run by all of them. Drexler likewise in the Gallus Racing Honda powered machine, currently 9th, a nice consistent drive for him. And Hackman somewhat unfortunate in the first yellow, and that set him back quite a bit, in 10th at the moment, and possibly running with a little bit of damage as well, because he doesn't seem to be going quite as quick as he did early on in the race. Marazzi in 11th, so the Italian in the Gore Racing entry doing well. 3 laps behind the car in front, but still in with a shot of a top 10 finish and scoring points. And Greg Della Cella staying out of trouble and inside the points. And while they nowadays have, at least in IndyCar for the foreseeable future, stopped coming to the Tricky Triangle due to recent years and the accidents that has been, it's definitely one of those racetracks and races that brings a lot of action and a lot of interesting stuff because of how it is to drive.
Yeah, I believe NASCAR still visits Pocono, but I think the IndyCar stopped coming because of there was over the past few. I can't remember what year it was exactly, but Robert Wickens had his big accident where I believe it kind of he has to use hand controls now whenever he races, but like he can't really use his legs anymore because of the way his accident was when he hit the wall at Pocono. It just basically, yeah, it was a scary accident to watch, but still he's still out there racing now, and yeah, huge respect to him for getting back out there and racing. Even on hand controls, he's still really quick these days.
Yeah, he reminds me in a way of the Italian. I should know the name by heart, but
Alex Zanardi.
Thank you, Alex Zanardi indeed, who was a damn speedy devil even with his legs, and then he had an accident at Lausitzring in Germany, which unfortunately saw him have to lose his legs, but he then came back racing in touring cars and was still really, really quick. and Wickens likewise. I believe he recently has been racing in a Hyundai in the TCR America Series, where he and his teammate scored a win during his first season back in a racing car.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe they actually took 2 wins as well. I think they took 1 win for sure. I'm sure they took 2 wins this season. I think the series over in America. I'm trying to think what it's called. I think it was the TCR class that he's racing in. The Michelin Pilot Challenge, I think it was called.
Right, that's okay. So that's
So,
how they've done it. All right, I knew
so
it
it's
was TCR
basically
cars. I just wasn't sure exactly how the series was supposed to be worked and looked at.
yeah. I think it's basically a multi-class. Excuse me. It's a multi-class series with the GT4 cars and TCR cars or touring cars, basically. So, but yeah, he's been doing well this season, or done well last season, I should say. He took a few podiums and a couple of wins with his teammate, another Canadian teammate of his. I can't remember the name. So, but yeah, he's been doing well, and it's good to see. And looking forward to watching him again next season.
Indeed, and I just noticed Bouchard climbing the standings again. And looks like Chacon is in the pits. All right, so Chacon in the pits and Bouchard just passed Amaral for position. But as you say, it'll be very interesting to see how he'll get on this coming season. And kudos and all goods to him for being able to get back in a race car.
Marazzi in the wall and spun now onto the green stuff.
Oh dear, there he is. Let's see if we can catch what happened. Oh, bit off the line he would usually use, I reckon. Bit of dirty air, too much air, and then the car just snapped on him and sideways up into the wall. And down to the grass he goes. Thankfully enough, not too many cars around, so no one hit him, and he should be able to get that car back to the pits. As long as he goes slowly enough. That's fortunately not a spin on the grass and into the race track at a very unfortunate point, but gets the car pointed the right direction and probably learns that, okay, I need to go just a tad bit slower. And here comes Della Cella, who will put a further lap on Marazzi in a moment. There he goes. So he unlaps himself. Only 1 lap now behind Marazzi. And Hackman likewise going past. Still in 10th. Chacon in 9th after his pit stop. Drexler in 8th. Amaral 7th. Bouchard 6th. Rocha in 5th. 23 seconds ahead of Bouchard. So Rocha really flying at the moment. Shlapinski still in 4th, now 10-11 seconds behind the cars in front, and 6 seconds roughly covers the top 3. And I reckon the reason for Pocono not being on the IndyCar Championships calendar, as you say, partly Wickens and partly the year after, where another car ended up in a very similar situation. Luckily didn't hit the catch fencing, and within quotation marks only skidded along the retaining wall before coming back down onto the track.
Yeah, I remember that accident. I was about to say Brian Herter, but he doesn't race it anymore. He's a
That was one of the Swedes, I believe, if I remember correctly.
I can't remember who it was. I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember the name. Is it Felix Rosenquist? I know Marcus Ericsson races an IndyCar. also another Swede that also won the India 500. And as I say that, Richard Wilkes is into the pits.
Yup. So Wilkes coming in after 86 laps completed. And looks like a fairly quick one. Ooh. If I try hard enough, I'll find the gear. That sounded like. Went up a little bit high there, but gets back. No car nearby, thankfully. And rejoins in 4th. 48 seconds now adrift of the leader.
Jules Bouchard now up into 5th place, leading the 3 Brazilians who have also been split by Michael Drexler. Because
Chacon came into the pits, I believe.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see. Drexler usually quite unsure of why it goes good or bad, but currently looks to be going quite well for him. Into the pits now, but should be able to rejoin in 9th again when everything is said and done with the pit stops. We can see that Hackman coming out to the pits as well, as I believe that was Tatchak into the pits.
Tatchak just exited.
And exiting as well. 8 seconds the difference between him and Wilkes now, so Wilkes with a somewhat slower pit stop by the looks of things. Let's see if Yates is going to stop on this coming lap and where he will rejoin. Looks like he has saved some fuel on this stint, continuing for another lap.
Yeah, I think Jakes has just been taking it easy, just saving some fuel. It's just like, that was a very close call there.
Yeah, it was, but it worked out, thankfully.
But yeah, I think Jakes has just been I've been watching him, and I think he's just been saving fuel and trying to stretch out this run as long as possible. And what are we on at the moment? Lap 9, just about to come to the end of lap 92. So I think he might be into the pits at the end of this lap as he comes round, and I think no, he's going round actually.
Wow.
So he's actually stretched out, but
Wow.
probably about two or three laps now. But I think he might be stretching out as long as possible. Maybe try and, I don't know if it's possible, but maybe to try and cut out a pit stop.
I'm not sure he will be able to cut out a pit stop, but he can definitely make sure he needs to have a shorter stop towards the end. Or stop earlier than the rest and be able to either a shorter pit stop or be able to have more fuel to burn at the end. Either way, that's a good position to be in. Looks like he's now preparing to go into the pits. He does. And let's see where he ends up rejoining.
Just needs to make sure he doesn't overshoot his box, as I think he slowed down and yeah, hits it perfect.
I think he learned from last time during the yellow, where he locked the rears during a downshift and had a bit of a spin in the pits.
Lipinski into the pits as well.
Righto, so taking a book out of Yake's books, and that's a very slick, quick pit stop for Yakes.
I'm keeping an eye on to see where Tasiak is. Tasiak jumps into second, and I think Jakes is going to come out in front of him.
It'll be tight, cold tires, so he might lose out still, but 30 seconds currently the difference. Make that about 4 seconds. So that was a very slick stop for Yakes, and he takes the lead with Vadim second and Wilkes in third.
But yeah, I think David Jake stressing that run out as long as possible. We definitely helped him, and I think that pit entry as well. And the pit entry definitely helped. It gained him a bit of time. So yes, a good pit stop from David Jakes. And I wonder if he might have not overfueled. I wonder if he maybe took underfueled slightly by maybe 1 or 2 liters, just to try and gain track position.
Could be the case, we'll have to wait and see, but Tatcha currently closing in a little bit and then draws back out again. The nature of oval racing. So now about 9 to 10 seconds covering the top 3. With Yakes the winner of the last stint. Let's see what else has happened in the field. Shlapinski still in 4th, with Rocha still in 5th then. Bechard still in 6th, I'm not sure he's pitted yet. But he at least carries on around. Chacon up into 7th, with Drexler in 8th. Amaral coming out of the pits now. That seems like that may have been a long pit stop for him. Just going to quickly jump on board with him and see if there's any... looks like there's no needing to steer the car differently at least, so... Car is probably okay, just a long pit stop. Or pit stop at an inopportune time. Hackman still in 10th. And Della Cella up into 11th. With the repairs for Marazzi, now 3 laps behind Della Cella in 12th. So Greg now with 2 points in the bag, if it remains status quo. And looks like Wilkes has closed in just a tiny bit on Tatchak, while Tatchak has closed in just a tiny bit on Yakes as well. And it looks like Tatchak has finally found the pace in the car on this stint, closing in on Yates and putting just a bit more distance between himself and Wilkes.
Just watching Richard Wilkes as well, and watching David Jakes, and that gap between him and Tesiak is it's not really come down. It's only come down to about 2.2 seconds. It looks like Jakes is maintaining that gap, and I think Tesiak at the moment, I think maybe just more than happy to sit in second place at the moment and try and make it to the final 50 laps or so, and then basically try and start pushing now. But I think David Jakes at the moment is pretty much in command, and just not easing off, but just I think he's just more than happy to just lap at the pace that he is at the moment. As I say that, actually, Tesiak has closed that gap down to about 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, that looked like one speedy lap by Tatchak, a 46.2 to a 47.1. Wow, nearly a second. Let's jump on board with Yakes and look back over his Domino's pizza wing, back towards Tatchak, and let's see if we can visually see him closing in. And now we can see the white speck in the background coming through turn 1. That is the car of Richard Wilkes, as that's Greg Dalla Cella going slow. That's unfortunate for Greg. He has been having a great run so far this race. Was that simply letting the leaders past, or did he actually have some kind of trouble, I wonder?
He has some kind of trouble. He's now heading into the pits.
Idea. That's very much unfortunate. Oh, and Hackman is out! Whatever happened to Hackman? Into the pits he comes.
That's interesting. I wonder if that was yeah, it comes into the pits, and I wonder if that's maybe a blown engine.
Now the engine is running, so it looks like he simply decided he's had enough for some reason, so that's unfortunately the ADA Foyt Enterprises entry out of the race. Right, so back to the front, 1.5 seconds the difference, and pit stop signal. I think that's more of the game saying, shouldn't you come into the pit soon? Maybe Greg Dalla Cella has unfortunately retired as well. So Greg down to will be classified in 12th then, and Hackman will be classified in 11th. Marazzi needs to do one more lap and he will be up inside the top 10. Make that a few more laps to be in 10th, but one more lap to be 11th.
Looks like the damage was probably too much for Greg's car, and he had to park it for safety reasons.
That's highly unfortunate. Well, one of those things. And that is Filippo Marazzi being put a further lap back by David Yakes. And now the next car to try to do so is Tatchak. And now we can see Drexler in the foreground as well as the next car to be lapped by the leaders. As Marazzi now up into 11th. Marazzi taking a very high line, letting Tachak take the low line and slip past there. Nicely done, Filippo. Looks like Wilkes is more or less cruising for now. Maybe he is the one who's going for the 50 laps left burst of speed. Let's jump on board with Tachak for a lap and see how you take a lap at high speed around this place. Looks like him and Yakes is currently lapping at roughly the same kind of lap speed.
Same for Wilkes, all three burned either 46.6s or 46.7s last time around.
Impressive in a way.
3 different cars, 3 different drivers, but same lap time at the end.
If you put it that way, that is quite impressive. And there goes Drexler towards the bottom of the track to let the leader past.
Yeah, so it's all been quiet for since the pit stops. There's not really much action going on. So some of these guys up at the front, they are probably just thinking to themselves, let's just get to the finish now, as we're on the 111. So I think Tesiak, when we get to the final 50 laps, that's when he'll start pushing.
Everybody's building up for the grand finale at the end.
For sure.
Alltså, säger du det, Lucy?
Yeah, thinking about the championship as well. Even though we've got two rounds remaining in the championship, as we were talking about earlier on, I think who are your predictions, or who are you picking for the championship?
I dare not pick anyone. I don't know who is racing in the last 2 rounds, so... but considering Tachak and Yakes is still running, it's likely going to be either of those two or Coxon.
Yeah, it could be either Tedchek or Jakes, because if Tedchek or Jakes finish the race, Coxon has like a... let me do a little bit of math. About more than 20 points as a gap, which is basically one entire race. Under normal conditions, Coxon isn't able to get that gap away in the last 2 races, so it's either gonna be Tetchek or Jakes. And if I would have to pick someone, well, I would split my money 50-50 on both sides, so I can win something at the end.
Yeah, I don't know who I would pick if I was to pick to win the championship. I think it's so difficult because David Jake's really quick, Tasiak's really quick. But honestly, I think if I was to pick someone just based on form and being consistent, I think my money is going to have to be on David Jakes.
David Jake certainly knows how to win USEC or CARD championships, so he also knows how to deal with the pressure. I don't know if Vadim ever had a similar situation before that, so maybe he will fall under the pressure, but given his performances this year, I'll doubt it somehow.
Yeah, back up at the front, it's still Jake's leading, and Tasiak did close that gap down to about 1.3 seconds. But yeah, I think that gap between the Jakes and the Tasiak has been about 1.2, 1.3 seconds for quite a few laps now. So I think Tasiak is maybe just trying to keep that gap there and just trying to keep Jakes in sight.
Having a visual target can help you sometimes, either focusing or, recalibrating yourself mid-race. Oh, that's my goal, I gotta push for it. Always easier to do that with a car in front of you than with, let's say, a target lap time. I wanna hit this in this lap time.
And I am now back. What have I sort of missed? Pit stops.
They will come in a few laps, presumably.
Well,
But not yet.
Wilkes is now 4th, so is that a pit stop or why has that
Yeah, it
happened?
was one. Lap 118 he pitted.
Alrighty, so he is now a lap behind the leader. Wow. Well, oh my God!
Oh, that was so close to being contact. that was a bit. That was pretty much one of those moments where that was pretty much time to empty your bowels, or a heart and mouth moment.
Touch check into the pits.
Presumably to not be held up by Wilkes any more than he needs to, and presumably roughly on his pit stop window. Right, so Wilkes pitted. Tatchak now coming out of the pits. And Yates with a fast lap of 45.8! Wow!
Yeah, I thought all the accidents settled down for a bit, but yeah, everyone's starting to lose it a little bit, or get a bit crazy. But yeah, that moment there with one of the back markers, that was a well, that was scary.
Well, that effectively looked like I'm not going a lap down. Hold your horses, sir. Right, so we're just waiting for Jakes to come into the pits for his presumably second to last pit stop. Which could be in a little bit, but we'll wait to bring up the final trivia question until Jakes has pitted, just in case it ends up being very close after the pit stop.
Cesario also still has to pit.
Indeed, he's running third at the moment, I believe. Out on track.
Not a bad race after starting P22. Sitting now in effectively P4. Who knows, with attrition, maybe a podium. If he doesn't attrition himself.
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at Sapinski at the moment, and Sapinski's been having a good run as well, and yeah, always there and thereabouts, always up there doing well, and running in the top 3, and as it stands, I don't want to jinx him, but as it stands, could be on course for a podium in this race. Keep it out of all the trouble and attrition that's been taking place, and racing one of my favourite liveries as well in this series, that Skull Bandit livery. I always love it.
Indeed.
As David Jakes comes into the pits and hits his box absolutely perfect.
Very nicely done. 4 tyres for him. Nice little burnout coming out.
So coming out the pits as well, and it looks like he clips the grass. Oh, hold it, David.
Looks like he did. 8 seconds the difference between him and Tachak. So still a nice little gap for him in this fight for the win in this race. And looks like Slapinski into the pits as well. So with the second to last pit stops being done, let's have a look at the second trivia question for the evening, and depending on how the race pans out, we might bring it up during the final pit stops or at the end of the race. But the question for you, the second one this evening, is who holds the kart qualifying record for Pocono's triangular oval? Is it A. Emerson Fittipaldi, B. Al Unser Jr., or is it C. Bobby Rahal?
I'm gonna go with Fittipaldi, given it's a Brazilian race in Interlagos this weekend end of one, so picking Emerson could be a choice of good luck.
Alrighty.
I'm going to, because he raced an IndyCar as well, he raced around this track, I'm going to go with Emerson Fittipaldi.
Okay. That's a fair guess. He also
Angel May goes C, Bobby Rahal.
Uh-huh. And as I said, it's a fair guess on whichever one is picked, really. Rahal was very quick in the 80s. Junior was quick both in the late 80s and early 90s, and Fittipaldi obviously very quick when he came over from F1 into kart until he stopped racing in 94, 95, somewhere around there. So all of them it could be. We can see that Amaral just exiting the pits after his second to last pit stop. And Tachak now about 7 seconds behind Yates for the lead. So quite a bit of a spread on the guesses for that one. So will be interesting to see what the correct answer is a little later.
Wilkes' gap has effectively doubled after the pit stop. Before it was around 8 to 10 seconds, now it's in the range of 20 seconds to our leader David Jakes.
And that's very impressive. And I would like to talk about it just for a moment, that we have alluded to the Brazilians being very quick, and the quickest tonight has been Luciano Rojas so far, running 5th in the Dick Simon Racing entry and a lap ahead of the car behind, so doing very well tonight. Very nice to see.
Yeah, he's been having a great run as Luciano, and he's kept out of all the trouble. It's been pretty much a quiet race for him, and not really being caught up in any incidents, and just pretty much kept it clean. And Jules Bouchard, also another one is I was going to say Jules Bouchard, but another one that I've noticed in the other or is in one of the Gallus racing cars is Michael Dresler in 7th.
Indeed, and he has Amaral for close company, though a lap between them technically. But Drexler definitely doing well with the Honda power plant behind. A car that would have been somewhat different to drive compared to most of the others with Cosworth or Chevrolet power. And I believe with that slightly wider... Is that a... No, I believe that is a Lola, so... Should be one of the cars more suited to this kind of open track.
You talked about Luciano, and interesting to note is that he also finished 5th last time out in Pennsylvania. So looks like he is saying this 5th place is mine and I won't give it away.
No, indeed. Ooh. 5 seconds to gap now, and we could see in behind there, trying very hard, was actually what I thought was Tachak was actually the Gore Racing car of Marazzi. Bit slidey on the exit of 3, but trying hard and doing well. 5 seconds now, exactly the gap between Yakes and Tachak. And it looks like Tachak at the moment is going a little bit quicker.
Looking at Vadim Teziak coming through turn 1, and Dave just watching that gap. It was round about 5.3 seconds down to about 4 seconds now. So slowly, as I was going to say, slowly closing that gap down, but it just went back up to about 4.3 seconds. 4.3 seconds now. So Jex is maintaining that gap now, and as we come to the end of just about to come to the end of lap 136, and coming. Excuse me. Oh, I can't stop yawning. I shouldn't yawn on a broadcast. Sorry. Oh dear. Sorry, beers.
No, it's a side. It's a side of 500-mile races. Occasionally, they get a bit drawn out, and we have been going for nearly 2 hours. So,
Yeah, I've never yawned on a broadcast, so so that's the first time. That's the first thing. That's the first time I've ever yawned on a broadcast.
well, it's allowed. You were expecting to go an hour later, so you were you might have been thinking, right, I have time for a quarter of nap.
I completely forgot about these races starting 1 hour early because of the clock's going backwards by 1 hour. So yeah, I'll keep I'll remember to be on time for the next race. But yeah, it's David Jakes is still leading by 4 seconds now, and Watson, the man that's chasing him, the German Vadim Taziak, just doesn't seem to be able to close that gap down as much as he hoped. But I think I just got a sneaky feeling that Vadim is maybe just pacing himself and just waiting until the closing stages of the race to start making his move and maybe trying to save some fuel at the same time.
I reckon you are probably correct in that, especially with the fuel aspect of it needs to be considered, because there is a limit to. Because there's a limit to how much fuel you can use, was what I was trying to say, but I got sidetracked. And now actually looks like closing in a little bit is Wilkes on Tachiak on the other hand, so interesting. Strapinski still fourth.
Yeah, I was about to say it. Richard Wilkes has slowly been closing down on Taziak as well, and so I don't know. I've just got a feeling that Richard Wilkes has just been hanging back and saving fuel slightly, just tried to save as much as possible, and now he's starting to excuse me, close that gap down ever so slightly. But the gap between Jakes and Taziak as well is up to about 4.1 seconds now. So the gap up at the front is going it's going between 3.7 seconds to about 4 seconds to 4.3 seconds. So I think Jakes and Taziak are starting to slightly.
Oh no! There's a blown engine for Wilkes.
Wow, coming through the tunnel turn, the engine goes in the Hemmelgarn Racing entry. So the internal combustion engine, it looks like, with the fire coming out the back, went boom.
So that's going to give Cesarius Slapinski a chance to move up to third place now, and that allows Luciano Roxa up into fourth place now, or pretty much everyone up a position.
Indeed.
So I was about to say Richard Wilkes could be the dark horse in this race in the closing stages, but I think I might have just jinxed him. So sorry, Richard.
Oh, one of those things. Slapinski then looking to move up into third place. There he goes. So Slapinski now in the podium positions. Rocha will be fourth in a lap or so. Drexler will be able to move up into fifth in a little bit, although he has for close company used Bouchard, so actually a battle here between Drexler and Bouchard. Let's jump on board with the Honda power plant and look back from the Gallus racing car towards the Penske of Bouchard. Actually looks like Drexler is going quicker, so Drexler passing Bouchard and the Penske and moving away.
Yeah, I was going to say it. Drexler's his pace has been pretty good, and he's starting pulling away from Bouchard now, and maybe Dressler's starting to pick up the pace now. They just try and build a bit of a gap to Bouchard, sorry. So I think Jules is maybe just happy he realizes he'll be up one position when he goes by Sorry, yeah, he goes by Richard Wilkes, who blew his engine, and Bouchard will be up into 6th place, and the Dressler will be up into 5th place.
Could definitely be the case. Amaral in 8th still, with Chacon after what I'd assume is some damage repairs in 9th, and Marazzi still out running in 10th. All of these will be upper position still. But for now that means the only real battle we have is technically 2 of them. There is the battle between Drexler and Bouchard, although that looks to be settled for now. And the battle for the lead, which is down to 2.5 seconds right now. So I wonder if this is a case of let's try to save the engine, because if one driver has blown their engine now, there probably is more to come, and Yates definitely looks to have slowed down, but Tachak doesn't seem to have done so. He is closing in hands over fist.
Jakes is now in the 48s over the last few laps, and before that he was in like the 46s, high 46s, low 47s, so he is driving 1.5 seconds slower per lap. As you said, probably because he's now scared about his own engine after watching Wilkes' engine go up into smoke.
That could be that, or he's worried about the internet, because his ping has gone up quite a bit. Noticed his car was moving about a little bit.
Yeah, the gap up at the front.
Wow, it's up to 400. Oof. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just about to say that the gap up at the front between Jakes and Taziak is down to 1.2 seconds now. So Taziak is definitely closing that gap down. I think he's definitely up to pace now. But yeah, I was watching that ping as well, and that was a bit scary, that ping.
Bouchard, very sporting, moves to the inside and lets the leader past. Presumably does the same for Tachak. Who hasn't quite done so yet, but now Tachak goes up the inside down the front straight and goes past Bouchard. And the lead down to 0.8 of a second. It looks like the ping is still a little bit wild for Yates, but hopefully it has now more or less settled down. Also, if there's anything you definitely do not want to have as your retirement, is the equivalent of a 50 pence part breaking on the car.
Absolutely. Because that gap between Jakes and Taziak now is down to 0.7 of a second now, so it's definitely coming down slowly. And I wonder if this is going to get interesting. If I'm David Jakes, or if you're David Jakes, what do you do? Do you try and keep Taziak behind as long as possible, or do you just let him go and try and maybe just tuck him behind and do some fuel saving just in case you think you can't make it to the end on fuel?
It's a worry and a danger either way, I'd say. It's one of those double-edged swords, but now down to 0.3 of a second. Right in behind the rear wing now is Tachak, so the battle is definitely on. With roughly 10 to 15 laps until the final pit stops. And actually on the same lap at the moment is Burchard, Drexler and Rocha. So it's 33 seconds between Rocha and Drexler, but that could be an interesting part to play in the end, towards the end of the race. Depending on what happened in all other regards. As Jakes now has been able to open up the gap just a tiny little bit on this previous lap. Actually more than a tiny bit. Up to 1.5 seconds now. You guys reckon that's a quick boost push, or is that more of a Tatjak caught up, but oh dear, the tires are a bit warm?
I think it could be a bit of a boost push. Just try and keep that gap, but I think Jake's at the moment. I think he's not looking too stressed, not too stressed or trying too hard. I think he's just maybe just trying to stay in front of Tatjak, but I think Tatjak on the other hand is trying to keep that gap with Jake's as much as possible. And I think it's one of those things. Do you want to start pushing and trying to keep up, or do you want to try and just keep that gap and not start pushing too hard in case you make a mistake?
Tatjak is effectively pacing himself at the same pace as Jakes, because when Jakes started going down to the 48s, Tatjak did the same once he was at the back of Jakes. And I think that Tatjak is either gonna... he was a few laps in the slipstream, so he's either gonna use the surplus he made of fuel in that laps, of good use in the last part of the race, maybe for our last attempt in the last few laps for the lead. But right now he's pacing himself again, but this time not looking at what lap times Jakes is doing.
Well, saying that, the difference is now 3 seconds. Was that a lapped car that I missed? Doesn't look like it. Ooh, Tatjak into the pits. Wow, this sounds early for a pit stop.
Maybe he was the last 2 laps saving fuel to be able to make it on this lap.
Well, could be, but either way, that sounds very early. They stopped last on lap 124?
122
122
for Tatjak.
That's 30. That is 20.
26 for Jakes.
22. 32. 42. 52. Okay, it's roughly on time. But that sounds off song for the amount of pit stops, so that means they both have a short stop to make it towards the end as well. Marazzi was the car that I noticed headed towards the pit lane. +30 seconds, still the difference between Rocha and the car behind. But now on the same lap as Schlapinski, so Rocha still going very well here tonight. And 45 seconds between first and second. I reckon with extra laps of fuel, Jakes is still in the box seat towards the end of the race, but both of them still need to make it there as well.
Both of these engines needs to make it as well.
True, true. Very true.
Excuse me, it'll be interesting to see when Jakes comes in to make his final pit stop. I wonder if Jakes is trying to make it to 1 lap 60, or try and get as close as possible to 160. So he comes round the final corner now, and is he going to come into the pits. No, he's not. He's going to continue on. So I think he's trying again. He's doing what he done in his previous run. They maybe try and stretch it out as long as possible.
Could definitely be the case. Question is whether it'll work out or not. Drexel into the pits as well, pitting from 5th. Was going to say he was going to lose the position, but here comes Bouchard into the pits on the same lap. As he briefly loses 5th, but because Bouchard ends up ahead of him in the pits, but Bouchard into the pit stall and Drexler rejoins, still in 5th. Now though, a lap behind Rocha again. So maybe Rocha pitted even earlier, and that's why there was a difference in time instead of lap between those two. Jakeson now in the pits. Four tires yet again for him. Oh, no burnout this time coming out of the pit stall. Clearly trying to be a bit more careful, it seems, but that might bite him in the butt, because here comes Tatjak about 3 seconds behind.
Yeah, it's going to be close.
Touch check very wide. Run in a little bit too hot into turn 1.
So 3 seconds the difference. Jakes actually gains just a tiny bit of time in that pit stop cycle. So, what do you fellas think? Shall we do the trivia question, or shall we save that to the end of the race?
I don't mind.
I don't mind as well. You decide. You're the lead broadcaster.
Fair. Well, while we wait for the tire temps to settle down and the difference in time to equal up, let's have a look at the trivia question and answer to the second question this evening. So, the question for you all was who holds the kart qualifying record for Pocono's triangular oval? Is it A. Emerson Fittipaldi, B. Alonso Jr., or C. Bobby Rahal? You two guessed Fittipaldi. Blue Moon thinks that it's Fittipaldi as well. If I remember correctly, we had Aeon May saying C. John guessing B. BL also guessing B. Nilsson guessing B. And complete understanding that there are some guesses being made. But the correct answer is, as I just need to get the graphics done, there we go, Emerson Fittipaldi, at a qualifying lap pace of 211.715 miles per hour, set in 1989, which I think will have been in the Patrick car back in the day.
Yep, that was the Patrick Racing car. Patrick Racing in 1989 before he joined Penske, and he joined Penske for the 1990 season.
Indeed. So anyway, Emerson Fittipaldi is the, I think, 1975?
72 and 74.
72-74 F1 world champion. Raced in F1 until 82, 83, I believe. Took a bit of a sabbatical from racing and then started racing in kart racing in 86 or 87. Very quick driver, and clearly quite the peddler overall, considering the tricky oval or tricky triangle is is very much a driver's track to try and get the car to work everywhere.
In the meantime, Tachiak past Jackson has now opened up a 4-second gap.
Wow! I wasn't expecting that. Holy moly!
Yeah, so excuse me. I wonder if Taziak's I think if Taziak's pretty much decided he's got enough fuel for the finish, and I think Jake's might be just hanging back, trying to look after the engine.
Well, it's two different philosophies, and be interesting to see who comes out on top. Either way, that's a definite surprise for me. Wow. I was expecting Jakes to be able to hold on for a couple of laps so we could do the trivia question, but apologies for missing that. On screen. Seems to have been stabilized at around 3.5 to 4 seconds the difference. Now in Tachiak's corner. Schlapinski still in third, Rocha still in fourth, Drexler still in fifth, Bugard still in sixth, 16 seconds is he ahead of Amaral in seventh. Could be close towards the finish maybe. Chacon, oh no, that looks like trouble. No front wing. Let's see if we can catch what happened.
I wonder if that's a case of maybe just running too wide. If he ran wide in turn one and just maybe ran up into the wall.
No, looks like it happened earlier.
Or it might have been on it.
By quite a bit, because he had no front wing going through the tunnel turn that lap. The lap before, that is. Huh. Oh, there's no engine in the car. That's what happened, so he's had an engine failure. Or possibly a turbo failure, unfortunately, so Chacon retires with mechanical issues, and that will mean that Marazzi will be up into 8th place in a short little bit here. Deary me, that's unfortunate, that's one of our Brazilians out. Technically the second of our Brazilians out, because Matheus da Silva retired early as well. I'm sorry to see Chacon out relatively early for being Bruno, but very good race for him, just a bit of bad luck unfortunately.
Yeah, Taziak got that gap up at the front to about 2.4 or 2.5 seconds now, and it's the gap's pretty much being around about that. So I've just got a sneaky feeling that David Jakes is maybe just hanging back and waiting until the closing stages to try and make his move as he come across the line. It's down to 2.2 seconds now, so I've just got a feeling that David Jakes is saving fuel, saving the car, and then if he's still in contention and still keeping that gap to Vadim Taziak, I think he'll pounce.
Definitely looks like it.
Both are in the high 47s or mid to low 48, so they're definitely not using full boost or using everything off the tires.
Indeed. And yes, so we get it correct broadcast chat here with BL saying Emo is Italian. He's from Sao Paulo in Brazil. A Brazilian racing driver. And he had, I think it was his nephew who raced in kart as well in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think he tried his luck in F1 as well before that, but didn't quite cut it.
Yeah, I believe his nephew is Christian Fittipaldi.
Christian Fittipaldi is his name. Thank you. That is correct indeed.
He used to race for I think he used to race for Newman Haas in IndyCar, but then yeah, used to race for Newman Haas in IndyCar, and I think he had a big accident in the 1997 where he broke both legs. I think.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Not sure on
We
the
also
year, but definitely had a big crash.
we also had his brother Wilson Fittipaldi, I think, who
Indeed.
had his own team in the 70s.
Yep, a team that, to everyone's surprise, Emerson decided to drive for after having won the championship. Oh no, Rocha is out! Deary me! Is that another engine, I wonder?
Yeah, that's an engine.
Oh, deary me.
So
So unfortunate. He was having a great race.
I think this is something that tells you, and the Jakes are going to have to think about, because if they're pushing each other hard, that's the I don't want to jinx them, but I think their engine might explode towards the end, but I think both of them are being sensible, not pushing too hard and trying to look after the car, as we've got about 30, just under 30 laps remaining.
Mm-hmm. While we keep that on screen, Wilson was indeed his brother. Kopesuka was the team in F1. Another kart and part F1 driver back in the day was Max Papis, who is the son-in-law for Emerson. And in recent times, the grandson of Pietro and Enzo both races. I think Pietro did a couple of F1 races last year.
He did indeed, and I think Pietro also raced in the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year as well. So yeah, Pietro's been getting around quite a lot, racing different things, and just trying to keep in shape.
Indeed.
Enzo's also putting together quite a neat rookie season in Formula 2 this year, having also joined, I think, the Red Bull Academy this week or last week. So you can definitely see that the Fittipaldi family is still having an art for racing.
Also, I think it's either Pietro or Enzo. Pietro or Enzo. It's also the nephew to Max Papis, because I believe one of the Fittipaldi family members is married to Max Papis.
Indeed.
So there's quite a big racing blood in the family, if you like.
Yeah, definitely some good racing genes to be gained in that situation, I reckon. A bit like for Colin McRae, for example, where father raced and then both the sons did rallying as well.
Bouchard's engine is gone and he's now out of the race.
Oh no! Another engine, a Chevrolet this time, in the back of the Penske. Oh dearie me.
So sorry, I was going to say I was going to allow the Dressler up into the podium, but actually it happened that engine block for Bouchard happened behind him, so everyone that's behind Bouchard will be up a position.
Which is one car, Filippo Marazzi, who will be up 2 positions, so he will be up to 6th in a few laps' time. He needs to do another nearly 10 laps to get there, which I think he has time to do. Drexler 4th, Amaral 5th, Schlapinski still in 3rd, Yakes and Tachak running about a second between them still. It's difficult to say, Blue Moon. It's I think it's a bit of a combination because in the sim there is a pre-race random value of how long does the engine last, similar to what it would be in real life. Obviously, no engine is exactly the same, no matter how you build it. As I see another smoke screen behind. Oh no, that's Drexler! So the Honda gives up the ghost as well. That's a turbo failure. White smoke. So I suppose, I don't know exactly how the game does it with leaning it back and pushing it too hard, but in real life that would definitely have been part of the reason why cars would blow up, and I don't know if AMS does that as well, but either way that's another retiree for with Drexler retiring now. Aye.
So looking at the moment, the remaining cars that are running, if you've got one, two, three, four, 5 cars running, 5 cars left running. So that's unbelievable. And if I was a Teziak and Jakes, I'd be very, very worried about that engine and keeping that in mind about the possibility of the engine going bang. But I think at this stage of the race, these guys up at the front are pretty much not real worrying about that now. They might they'll just be pretty much trying to not back off. Well, trying to look after the car, but not trying to back off too much because both of them are trying to go for a win and also go for the championship.
Indeed. And I think in that regard, Yakes is in a bit more of a hurried situation because he's 11 points adrift. And if Tachak wins with Yakes in second, that'll be a further 4 points adrift, so 15 points in total with 2 races to go.
Absolutely, and the final 2 rounds as well are road courses, so no more over races for the rest of the season. It's road courses, and I think, I just think the road courses could mix up that championship battle as well, because David Jakes and Teziak as well are both really quick on the road courses as well.
Indeed. That's definitely true. So third still, having pitted for the final time, I noticed this Rapinski just came out of the pits last lap. Amaral up into 4th now and give it enough laps. Marazzi will be up into 5th.
Jakes is currently basically not willing to pass Tachyak because they both are 2 seconds slower than their usual pace. But Jakes still decides to keep it behind him.
Well, in Yake's situation, I think he has a better fuel situation either way, so all in all, so he should have a shorter pit stop towards the end and therefore be able to get out in front and do something with it, possibly. I reckon they are closing in on their final stop. Quick stop towards lap 188 to 191, somewhere around there, I reckon.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think David Jakes, when it comes to the pit stops and fuel, I think he's got a good advantage because he's been able to stretch out that stretch out the run for about probably 2 or 3 laps extra, about 2 laps extra, I believe. So I think he's got the perfect advantage.
Definitely very, very likely indeed. Then, of course, there is the aspect of you need to get to your pit stall the correct way. You need to get the car slowed down, not make a mistake there. You need to get out of the pits without putting too much strain on the engine, and all that put together with the strain we've seen on the engines in these last 10-15 laps will make for a very nervous time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a Jake. I think Jake's is just staying behind and trying to save some fuel as well, and they doesn't seem too eager to try and get by as quickly as possible. I think maybe trying to play a bit of mind games with Taziak as well, just maybe trying to unsettle him.
Indeed. Oh, look at that. Jake's actually up against the wall a little bit down this front straight there. Possibly doing some tweaking of the next pit stop. Losing out a little bit of time with that. So who will be the first one to bite the bullet, so to speak, and take a pit stop, I wonder? And what will they do? Will one maybe take tires and one not? And how will that play out in the final few laps as well?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think if you're, I don't know. I've just got a feeling that Jakes might try and pit early and maybe try and do a bit of an undercut. But I don't know. I don't know if I was Jakes, what I would do. I think Taziak might try and. I've just got a feeling that Taziak might try and stretch out as long as possible in this run this time around. Maybe try and take a little bit less fuel and try and try and jump Jakes, but. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder what one of these two. I wonder what one of these two, or either of these two drivers, will try and bite the bullet and or pull the trigger first and they dive into the pits. But both of them. Oh, someone's blew their engine on the home straight.
Oh, I think that might unfortunately be Marazzi. Looked like a red car. It is indeed.
Yep.
That's Marazzi. Unfortunately, he at least got up to 6th, but that means Drexler will be classified in 5th place in this race.
Yeah, as these two coming down the back straight, and I think I've got a feeling that one of these two guys up at the front might try and pit on lap 188, maybe try and pit early, and because they're not holding each other up, but I think maybe one of them will just try something different, try and play a bit of play a bit of mind games and try and get one of these two drivers to crack first and dive into the pits.
Indeed, looks like Tashak is playing some games right now. Pulled out a little bit of a gap. Not a massive one, but a little one. Now we can see finally the Go Racing car comes to a stop. So unfortunately the Italian is out. But did a very good job keeping the car rolling for as long as he did in this race. I reckon that was a case of maybe Drexler retired out on track and I can roll to beyond where his ending point was as such. But unfortunately that is not going to happen for Marazzi, and 6th place will be his reward for the evening. Oh, and look at that. The draft pulling Jakes right up to Tachak that time around down the front straight. So mind games galore right here. That on lap 187, 14 laps to go.
Yep, there's a come round to just about to come round and complete lap 187, and again both of these drivers stay out on track. Sorry, they were on the back straight. My apologies. Both of these drivers are
on the final turn now.
They're coming around the final turn. Is either of these two going to dive into the pits? No, they're not. So they go by to complete another lap, and I think I've got a feeling that one of these two drivers is going to dive into the pits at the end of the end of lap 188. So I think it's going to be a case of excuse me. It's going to be a case of who dives into the pits first. I think if David Jakes dives into the pits, if I was him anyway, I would dive into the pits at the end of this lap and try and get an undercut on Taziak. And I wonder if that's a good question. I wonder if Jakes will just take fuel only, or maybe try. If I was him, it's worth taking a risk and taking fuel only. You might need
Indeed,
to.
or fuel and only right side tires, but we'll have to wait and see. Do any of them pit? Tatchak into the pits. Tatchak into the pits. And Yake stays out.
Taziak
Wow.
needs to what? Taziak's going very quick. He needs to get into his box. Oh, he's a
Ooh,
locked
up. Oh no, he's overshot. He's
Oh,
overshot
no.
this pit stall.
Oh
Has to
no!
reverse in. Still hasn't
was about-
found it. Now he
Oh.
finds it. Wow.
He still can't find it.
Now he's in the pit stall now. Taking right side tires. Right side tires only, and out he comes. Wow.
Right. Yeah, that was a costly mistake. I think Vadim will be kicking himself for that because he was going too quick.
It was one of those situations where you're a little bit blinded by speed, so to speak, where you're out on track and you're flying and you're flying and you're flying, then suddenly you're trying to slow down, and I think it was James May when he was driving the Bugatti Veyron, where he said afterwards that, well, I thought, well, time to get out when he was slowing down, and luckily I looked down on the speedo and I was still doing 120 miles an hour.
What's David Jakes, the leader up at the front? I wonder if he'll dive into the pits at the end of this lap and try and cover off Vadim. He's coming across or he's coming around the final corner now. He's coming around to the final corner. My apologies. I keep getting mixed up with this track.
It's a bit tricky. Still stays out. Interesting.
So I think Jakes will be in the pits at the end of his lap, or I think he's trying to stretch this out as long as possible. So he only has to take a splash of fuel, I think.
Well, a splash it is. The question is, will he only take fuel or will he also take tires? What will be the situation? Oh, and I think he has slightly scraped along the wall there. Trying hard right now. 48 seconds now, the difference between himself and Tatchak.
Jake's now got this wrench symbol and the left.
Oh, and taking
So
a wide turn, dives
should be
into
in.
pit lane.
So Jakes needs to be careful and not go overshooting his box like Vadim did. He slows down real early to make his box. Could he hit it perfect? Yeah, just gets it slowed down.
And only fuel. He only is taking fuel. And out he comes.
I think he'll easily jump Vadim. As Vadim's coming around to the final corner now, and I think Jakes is going to be well ahead.
Looks like it'll be around 24 seconds. Wow! What a costly error for Tatchak. So 8 laps to go, 20 odd seconds in the difference. 4 cars still running, Slapinski in 3rd and Amaral in 4th.
So that mistake by Vadim missing his pit box, and Jakes hitting his pit box, taking fuel only and not taking tyres, as they gave him a good comfortable margin. But obviously we've still got a few laps to go, and if I'm David Jakes, I'm going to be a little bit nervous with all these drivers having blown engines.
Quite so. So still 20 seconds the difference. I wonder if Tachak may have conceded to being, okay, unless he blows up, I'll finish second here. So if it finishes like it is right now, the difference will be 7 points going into the final 2 rounds between first and second in the championship. And next time out it'll be Laguna Seca, if I remember correctly, as the venue.
Yeah, it is a Laguna Seca indeed, and the Laguna Seca it's a one of my favourite tracks when it comes to IndyCar racing, and looking for rather. Sorry again, I'll say it again. Looking forward to it, and I think if David Jakes holds on to take the one, I think the momentum I think will be highly in his favour, even though the Tesiak will still have the championship lead, I believe, but only just. But I think David Jakes, he'll be high on confidence after today if he holds on to win the race. And I think if I'm David Jakes, on one hand, you've got nothing to lose and you should just go for it. But on the other hand, you've got to. I think if I was Jakes, I would use the Alan Prost strategy of just scoring points because winning races, you don't have to win races all the time to win championships.
Ooh. But right now, it's down to 16, 17 seconds. See a 47.4 for Yakes. Let's see what Tachak does this lap around. That could have been a timing error in the track. We've seen a little bit of that going on. A 46.5, so second he's gained. So at that pace it'll not be enough indeed.
Only thing that could take the win away from Jakes is a barbecue or a mistake, which shouldn't happen in these last 5 laps, because he already did 195 laps without a mistake. He should be in the groove by now.
Well, it's one of those you never know for sure until you're across the finish line.
As Jakes comes across the line now to start the 1 lap 97, so we've got probably just about 4 laps remaining, I believe. So I think at this point, Jakes is just he'll probably just be nursing at home to get it to the finish, and Tesiak, I think at this point, like you mentioned, they're probably happy to finish in second. I think that mistake in the pits is he'll hold his hands up and say that probably cost him a chance of taking a possible win.
Indeed. Definitely seems to be the case anyway. For now. Another lap in the book, 3 laps to go. Meanwhile, in behind Jakes on track is Schlapinski still in third. And Amaral still in fourth. And now actually Jakes lets Schlapinski by. 2 laps to go.
Yeah, so Dave Jakes is just like I say, taking it easy and just getting the car to the finish, and that gap between him and Vadim is down to about 10.8 seconds now, and I think Vadim's just trying to push as much as possible, maybe using a little bit of boost, but I think he's going to run out of time.
Indeed. So coming out to the final turn, flag stand will have the white flag in their hands. 1 lap to go. looks like it'll be good, because I think even if he blows here, he should be able to coast to the finish. And into the final turn for the final time comes Yakes and the Doug Shearson Racing Domino's Pizza sponsored car, comes towards the start finish line and takes the win here in the Quaker State 500. Congratulations, David. Great drive. Likewise for Tasjak, finishes second. Very good drive. Still to come across the finish line to take the finish flag is Schlapinski. Francisco Amaral coming out to the final turn now to take the finishing flag to finish fourth in this race. And he looks quite happy with that. Very well done. Nice drive. And coming out of the final turn now is Schlapinski, comes towards start finish line and will take the final podium position here tonight. In other regards, actually looks like a fastest lap for Sasaush on the final lap. Drexler will be classified in 5th, Marazzi 6th, Bouchard 7th, Rocha 8th, Chacon 9th, Wilkes 10th, Heckman 11th and Greg Dallacella in 12th. With our further retirees being Bose, Nilsson, Tim, Oscar, Saber, Fitch, Tim, John, May, Wattman, Olsson, White and Da Silva. But the win goes to David Yates, who closes up the championship and makes it 7 points the difference. And a formation running here through the final turn, nicely done, to finish off the action out on track.
Yeah, that was that was a great drive by David Jakes. Definitely put Vadim Taziak under pressure, and I think Vadim might have cracked slightly when he came into the pits and missed his pit box slightly. But David Jakes had a good race, kept it cool, kept it clear, and they didn't make any major mistakes.
Indeed. In the end, it was 7.4 seconds, so David definitely took it easy for the final laps, but was able to make it. So very nicely done. And Schlapinski likewise, no mistake this time, and a third place finish for him.
Great result for Slapinski, coming from P22 to P3. Nearly the last two first challenge, but only just.
So, while we wait, let's have a look at what is coming up next here at ISO. Here we are. So, on November 20th, in a week, on Sunday, we will have the 12th Arak Westfalen Pokalrennen, the 10th round out of 11 of the 78 DRM Championship. I believe it's a split division race, and that race will take place at the racetrack of Solda, which should be quite interesting, I would think, and quite fun. Where, as far as I'm aware, Jason White will bring you all the action from the racetrack itself. while we wait further, any final thoughts from you, Ryan, or you, Tim?
I think that was a bit of a chaotic race in the first half, but I think the second half with having several retirements with engine failures and other issues. I think the race pretty much settled down in the last half of the race, and we had a good fight for the win between Vadim Taziak and David Jakes, and I think that pressure that Vadim was having from David Jakes before the final pit stop definitely showed when he came into the pits far too quickly and overran his box ever so slightly. And I think that gave David Jakes a perfect opportunity to come into the pits, just take fuel only, and come back out. What was it, 20 or 16 seconds ahead, or round about that?
20 seconds, yeah.
So I think David Jakes played the perfect strategy game, and they kept his cool, and they drove a great race.
Well, it was mentally, physically, and mechanically a challenging race for every part of the car or of the driver. So congratulations to David and Vadim, and also to Cesarios and Francisco for making it to the checkered flag and finishing this rather long race.
Indeed so. I can see that Cesarius is not in the green room, neither is our other finishers, so now Cesarius actually joins the green room, so let's get him in here.
User was moved to your channel.
Congratulations, Cesarius. 3rd place. Must be quite happy with that.
I would say very unfair third place because I didn't make any preparations. I was a whole week away from home, and actually I just wanted to get it to the half of the distance or maybe like that. So I'm surprised and pleased with the results. And the most important of all, congratulations to Vadim and David. They were just blitz pace and out of the reach.
That's very impressive then, with no preparation to be able to get a 3rd place. Looked very much like you were more or less trying to stay out of trouble for a big portion of the race. Was that the case, or how did you plan the race as such?
The only planning I did, I just calculated the fuel per lap, but then I realized that I have to lift off the throttle not because of the fuel consumption, but because of the engine temp, actually the oil temp. I didn't want it to exceed 105 degrees, and I did for a couple of laps, actually did some 106, 107. And when I realized that the distance to the end of the race is more than 2 laps, I put the boost on the top level and risked everything to get the fastest lap, and it did work.
Yeah, so it was indeed such. Yeah, you do score an extra point with the fastest lap, so well done on that.
That's a surprise. Thank you.
I believe the fastest. No, sorry, it's pole position and most led lap. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. It was a long race. Looking ahead as well. Let me just get the schedule up so I'm correct in which round I say is next. Next round, it's the Champion Sparkplug 300 kilometers at Laguna Seca Raceway. With a podium finish here, how do you reckon your chances at Laguna Seca?
It's a completely different track. One of my favorites because it was present in the oldest sims I started my racing with, and I like the layout. The height changes, the chicane going downhill, and it's a I would say, very, very nice track to watch. And I think that was one of the best moves in the real kart racing when Alex Zanardi overtook, I don't remember who, but using the place out of the track, and he succeeded. That's the most important part.
Indeed. Yeah, that's definitely one of those, oh dear, holy shit, he's alive, he made it situations for sure.
I think for the fans and for the sport, that was a peak moment of this racing, and for Alex, of course, as well.
Indeed, indeed. Right, any further questions, Ryan or Tim?
Nothing for me. I think, excuse me, you pretty much asked what I was going to ask as well. So, yeah, great drive from Cesarius, and hopefully can keep up that momentum at the Laguna Seca and the final round of the season as well.
Thank you.
Well, I got nothing more to add. You and Ryan just said everything. So yeah, also congrats from me.
Thank you, guys, and see you next time. Thank you.
For sure. Congratulations once again on third place. Right, so with that, I reckon we will cap off the broadcast here. Thank you very much, Ryan and Tim, for joining me for color commentary tonight. And thank you to all our drivers who partook, and congratulations to our finishers for finishing this long, grueling race at the Tricky Triangle. And hope to see you all back watching next weekend on Sunday for the DRM event at Solda. But until then, have a great week, take care of each other, and have a good night.